Hey everyone, I'm John Lynn, the founder and chief editor at Healthcare IT Today. We're excited to bring another in our series of interviews with top leaders in health IT. And our guest today is Dr. Mike Gao. He's president of Smarter Technologies, and Dr. Ruben Amarasingham. He's from Pieces Technologies and now part of Smarter Technologies. Welcome, guys.
It's great to be here.
Yeah, great to have both of you here. Lots going on here at Health, lots to talk about in innovation, AI, and obviously the acquisition of Pieces Technology we want to dive into. But Dr. Mike Gao, why don't you start us off? Tell us about yourself and Smarter Technologies.
Yeah, well, I'm a physician by background, like Ruben here, and led actually AI for New York Presbyterian before founding Smarter DX, which is now kind of part of Smarter Technologies. And I think fundamentally at Smarter Technologies, it is about kind of being able to use the technology of tomorrow to deliver results for health systems today. And within revenue cycle, that means that kind of using AI both to effectively generate the correct invoice for the care provided, and then to help hospitals jump through the 257 or so hoops to actually get paid on that invoice.
And you weren't even overstating how many hoops there are. That's the funny part. That's awesome. Ruben, how about yourself in Pieces Technologies?
So a physician and been working on in the research and clinical areas of using machine learning and artificial intelligence to improve doctors' lives. And that's what we're focused on at Pieces. And very excited to be part of Smarter Technologies. We think it's one of the most exciting companies in this space in terms of the companies that have been brought together. And so we're excited to be part of it.
For sure. Well, and you have an interesting mix of people and technology. Yep. Obviously, one of the hottest topics in healthcare right now, and here at the health conference, is AI. Mike, talk to us, what AI trends are maybe top of mind for you as it relates to RCM in particular, given what Smarter Technologies platform does for hospitals and health systems?
Yeah, I think we're all in this world where I feel like every month or every other month you read in the news and it's like AI is smarter today even than it used to be, and there's a next version of whatever model release. But the trend is that health systems are more and more expected to actually see the impact of AI kind of in their P&L and in their bottom line, kind of beyond just extending more interest just because it seems cool. I think it's time now to actually see the impact.
Yeah, well, it's funny. I hear a lot of people talk about the technology and how it didn't have that impact. It seems like AI has the promise to have that impact, which I think is really powerful. Ruben, what would you add as far as AI trends right now?
I would just add a little bit to what Mike said. I think that in this first phase, we've seen companies like Smarter DX that show clear financial return on investment impact. What Pieces is really focused on is clinical ROI impact, and specifically for physicians, reducing time. Now merging those two together is going to be a huge part of these kinds of companies going forward. The other really interesting thing, I'm sure you're hearing about a lot of different AI trends. One of the things I'm most excited about for clinicians is the ability of these AI systems to have real contextual understanding of what's happening to their patients, so that you're really appreciating having almost an assistant with you.
Yeah. I
don't think that's really been demonstrated to date, so I'm very excited about what the next year or two is going to bring in that direction. It's going to be massive for clinicians.
That contextual understanding is so critical, and the context around any piece of information depends on the clinical context, the environment, the patient's history, but also what the payer is willing to pay for, what their guidelines are in terms of what's allowed to be submitted. And actually, what I would say is, in some ways, we're approaching super intelligence, because it actually isn't possible for any one human being to keep in their mind all the payer context, all the revenue cycle context, and all the patient context. To zero in and triangulate kind of the right thing to do and the right thing to write and document in that moment. And actually, with AI, we can start to do that for the first time.
It's funny you say that. I think it was about 18 years ago. I had a guy write an article on Healthcare IT Today, and really the original site. But he wrote this. He said, I think the body of medical knowledge is going to become so complex that the human mind can't comprehend what it is, right? And he's like, and I think we may already be there. Now, fast forward 18 years forward, body of medical knowledge is there. The RCM has evolved in dramatic ways. Meaningful use requires, you're right. That's what you're saying, right? Yeah. It's complex.
Now, for the record, you heard it here first. Clinical superintelligence. This is where we're going.
That's
totally.
Like branding on the spot.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly. And one thing I'm excited about with this partnership is actually one thing we really appreciated about Smarter DX and to some extent Smart Technologies is something that we've really tried to do a lot at Pieces Technologies, which is really have background understanding of the patient and the patient journey. And so one of the things that's been almost symmetric is both the in this partnership, we're going to be kind of merging that background understanding. So very excited about that.
Yeah.
That creates the personalization, that sort of higher assistant level that's needed. Yeah.
That's great. So Mike, talk to us more about this. You acquired Pieces Technologies, obviously created Smarter Technologies out of this and a number of other companies. I know Access Healthcare, a few others, right? But why did you decide to make this acquisition, and kind of what do they bring to Smarter Technologies, the Pieces Technologies section of it?
Yeah, I mean, I think, first the team is really excellent. It's a bunch of people who are clinicians and data scientists and engineers. I think traditionally the hard part for any product within the clinical workflow is physician adoption. Now, Ruben and I are both physicians.
Yeah.
So we promise you, it's like herding cats on the best of days. And I think, kind of seeing Pieces have, for many of their products, 90+% adoption is just unheard of. And I think speaks to the North Star that they've held, which is about making the physicians' lives, kind of easier so that they can spend more of their attention on providing the care. And so I think for us, sort of integrating that revenue cycle intelligence into the physician workflow is just such a strong thesis, and we could find no other better partner.
Yeah. What would you add, Ruben, as far as that? I mean, obviously, you talked a little bit about some of the benefits of bringing it together. But tell us more about what you were thinking and why you wanted to join and be part of that bigger vision. It sounds like you were successful before.
Yeah.
What made the bigger vision interesting for you?
I mean, as I mentioned earlier, I think this company, Smart Technology, is really very exciting in terms of the people, the financial backers that they have, the health systems that are part of that ecosystem. So we were incredibly excited by that. In my experience, you don't see many RCM companies that are led by physicians. There was an immediate.
That's a good point. Right.
I can't name one.
I don't know of any. Yeah, you're right.
So I think when I first met Mike and Josh Galeras, there was an immediate clinical kindred spirit. We're trying to solve the same thing, different perspectives. And then the third thing you'd want to look for in any kind of integration or partnership, acquisition in this case, is how complementary are the two systems. So to me, I would say 100% complementarity with no unnecessary overlap. Like it's a really perfect jigsaw puzzle or piece put together. So really thrilled about that. And then it's what's remarkable about Smart Technologies is you have 4 companies, kind of founder-led companies coming together. So there's a spirit of entrepreneurism even in this important set of companies coming together. So I thought that was very exciting.
Interesting. So Mike, what are the goals of this acquisition, and talk about what else you're working on? Obviously you have ambitious goals bringing these 4 companies together. What are you working on next at Smarter Technologies?
He's a busy guy.
I'll say.
I think it's there's not other kind of large gaps that we see in terms of being a partner for health systems. And what we're working on is what every single company should be working on, which is creating lots of value for the health systems that we're actually partnering with. Going back to the earlier point, it's about our customers actually seeing the results, the fruits of AI kind of in their P&L.
Interesting. How are people evaluating the ROI of working with Smarter Technologies? What's their motivation? Is it driving that bottom line revenue that you kind of talked about? Is it the clinical stuff? Like, talk about how you talk about, what results they can achieve working with smarter technologies.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I think for many of the customers, the spearhead product has really been Smarter Freebill, which takes in labs, medications, orders, documentation, and finds value that wasn't otherwise captured.
Yeah.
So it's kind of net new revenue, but rightfully so earned for the care that's delivered. And then, with Pieces, it's really about taking that intelligence and that sort of revenue lift and then baking it into the clinical workflow in a way that it's not a burden for the physician to capture more value, but it's actually the easiest path for them to kind of represent that care accurately as well. And then we mentioned the 257 hoops to actually collect on that value. And that's everything from, AR to denials to, so on and so forth. And really thinking about reducing the kind of burden that's needed to actually collect that value. So I think our aim is to be, really an AI partner that can be with, kind of that sort of integrated RCM expertise from when the patient enters the door to sort of, when the dollars are provided for the care delivered.
Interesting. I love that. Make the easiest path the best path so that they want to do what's right, what's beneficial.
Yeah.
Fascinating. Ruben, I'd love to hear what else, what does adoption of this technology look like? Let's give us some numbers, some examples, and the impact that it's having on organizations.
We're pretty proud and excited by it. I mean, one is, as Mike mentioned, for some of our key documentation products, we're able to show physician adoption, voluntary physician adoption, about 85 to greater than 90% within 6 weeks of a go live. And specifically, we want the output to be such that the clinicians want to use it, minimal training, word of mouth, organic, deployments within the health systems. So we're really proud of that statistic.
Yeah, that's powerful.
And then we're able to show reductions in time for the clinicians, obviously very important. Sometimes between 45 to 60 minutes per shift for inpatient clinicians. And measured on certain cognitive skills like the NASA TLSA score, being able to show meaningful improvements and reductions in cognitive burden.
Wow.
So those are some important ones. And then imagine then now marrying this with all of that's done faster, easier, more time for actually care at the bedside, less worried about documentation, and then also making sure that the billing components are met in a very unobtrusive, seamless way. That's the goal.
Makes sense. So as you look forward, where do you see clinical documentation, RCM in general? Where are they headed as they kind of continue to converge, right? Like clinical documentation, RCM. I mean, I've always had some relationship. Maybe you could start and then Mike.
Yeah, I mean, I think first is I think you're going to find that these systems are behaving more like an assistant. So for physicians, and that's going to be in a variety of ways. For example, anticipating, not only documenting what a physician wants to document from what, but anticipating, hey, did you know this about this case? And the physician's like, oh, that's fantastic, let me incorporate that. So I think that's going to really improve the quality of care over time. And the excitement, and the interest level. I mean, I actually think when I talk to medical students, I actually think this is a golden era to move into medicine, because these assistant-based systems are just going to make it the joy of practice so much better. So I'm personally very invested in that. I think that's going to be one of the most exciting things in the next 5 to 10 years is just improving the joy of practice, because you're going to have these assistants that have like total context, super intelligence, as Mike talked about. Imagine practicing in those environments. So I'm very excited about that.
Yeah, it's interesting. When we moved to EMR, the biggest benefits was I can actually read your note, and I can actually find the paper chart, which were good benefits, right? We took them for granted almost immediately, but those are nice. But this is like next level.
Totally next level.
It's going to change even how they think about documentation if they're a new student. That's interesting. Mike, what would you add?
I think that in some ways, you mentioned kind of that convergence of the clinical world and the RCM world. And, what I would submit is that it was never actually meant to be separate. The reason why it's separate is because it used to be that, you take care of a patient, you generate a binder full of, kind of handwritten notes and data. And you couldn't very well FedEx that binder to the payer and just be like, figure out how much to pay me.
That would be so expensive.
And so all of these things, like what is coding? Coding is just the compression of that data into sort of a set of medical codes that would be much easier to send to the payer. And so I think for the first time, what we're seeing is because of AI, less and less need to actually kind of have that compression be a separate step. That kind of along with generating the data on patient care, sort of intelligence can summarize that care, understand what should be paid, and kind of go back and forth, all in what appears to us to be sort of an instant of time. And so I think it's kind of not just sort of taking data across lots of different spaces, but actually taking data across time and compressing that into one point as well.
Wow, that's an incredible analogy and kind of history of why it was the way it was. That I love that. Well, guys, I appreciate you coming over here. I know you're busy here at Health and have a lot to do. So I appreciate you coming and sharing your insights and perspectives. Awesome. And thanks everyone for watching and listening. If you want to find more great healthcare IT content like this, be sure to check it out at healthcareittoday.com or search for Healthcare IT Today on your favorite podcast application. Thanks, guys.
Awesome. Thank you.